India, the USA, Great Britain, the Netherlands, Venezuela. People from these and many other countries of the world live with us side by side. They are working, starting families, growing up children and simply enjoying life in Kazakhstan. In our program Connecting Cultures, we share their stories that had occurred before they came to Kazakhstan and after they arrived here. From them, we will learn how the experience of staying in our country has changed their destinies. Our program follows the life of foreigners in our country. This is true stories told by representatives of many nations living and developing in Kazakhstan, and for whom our country has become home. What helps us to become more familiar with the culture of the other nation? The opportunity to come in touch with it by means of interaction with the cultural representatives living in their environment. In precisely this way, our today's hero, Markus Kaiser, throughout many years has been learning about the features of the Eastern culture of the peoples inhabiting Central Asia. The hero of our program, being the only child in his family, always was surrounded with love and care. While growing up, Markus was a quite homish boy. And our hero is a German by birth.
Kazakhstan is doing a quite modern educational policy, transforming from the Soviet system to a contemporary system. It introduced the Bologna system, that means BA, MA, PhD programs, tiers, levels, and that is quite successful. It is implemented in most of the universities by now. It is open for knowledge from foreign countries in different ways. At first, it sends to the Bolashak scholarship program MA candidates, PhD candidates out of the country, that they receive new knowledge, they come back and implement this knowledge. On the other hand, Kazakhstan is also inviting visiting professors to Kazakhstan. They bring their knowledge from Southeast Asia, from Europe, from the US, and teach the students accordingly. And you have the project like the Nazarbayev University, where you have 70% of foreign lecturers, which shows that Kazakhstan is open for all this kind of knowledge.
I have this kind of question. Do you ever wish you could go back to your childhood and live all the brightest moments again? Or in that case, would you have brought some changes?
Well, I was raised in a small town, so I'm a hometown folk. And I think for children it's quite good to raise up in a smaller town, and I liked it, and I would not do anything different. However, maybe I would now study a different subject that would have could lead to another career. I would not have minded to have studied law, for example, right now. Even if I see the people who studied law, international law, they are working in a similar sphere like I do, but they have a more stable position. So with social sciences, you are more kind of freelancer all the time.
Are there any memories that you treasure up in your heart?
Of course, I treasure up in my heart, for example, all the events I had together with my grandma. I mean, when we were driving bicycles, she was driving in front, I was following her, and driving bicycle with my grandma was kind of fun. She had a house and a garden. I liked to visit her. My parents had a dacha type of house in the woods. I also like this memory. I came from the Constance, the Lake of Constance. So in the summer times I always went swimming, playing badminton, playing volleyball. I could do a lot of free time activities which are not available in a big city. Of course, that is maybe the time to move to a big city, but to have the childhood in a smaller town, that would, I think, is good to have.
Maybe you have some family traditions that help to bring all of you together, don't you?
Family traditions are, of course, linked to Christmas, to Easter, to certain seasons of the year, and are linked to cooking and baking. So, for example, my grandma made the perfect Apfelstrudel, something which you also know in this region as a German cake, or some other cakes. Of course, food is something which I remember from my grandma, and some of those dishes were continued and also done by my mom. I always come back, even with my son. We always meet in Constance for Christmas. My father is still alive, so now we celebrate it with my father.
What did you dream of while being a child or teenager? And was your dream connected with the choice of your profession?
I didn't travel a lot, but my aunt So the sister of my father, she used to live in New York. She used to travel. She has been to India. She always brought me gifts from abroad. So I think the desire to travel and to go to foreign countries is linked with my aunt. And of course that came true because I studied a subject where I was quite sure that I could travel. I started out to study international politics, international relations. So you had to travel, and that is why I have chosen it.
Markus Kaiser obtained his higher education in Germany. In addition, he got a chance to study at Columbia University and undertake an internship in New York City. At first he was trained in the West, but soon he began to be interested in the East, and it led him to Russia and then to Afghanistan, where he got acquainted with some representatives of other ethnic groups. This in turn sparked his interest in the countries and culture of Central Asia.
You dreamt of traveling. Tell us in more details where this dream has led you.
As I wrote my diploma thesis on Central Asia, I was taken in for a graduate program, graduate school, on markets and state and ethnicity. So I was working on Uzbekistan, on informal sector trade in Uzbekistan. That was my PhD topic. So I stayed for 1 year in Uzbekistan, mainly in Tashkent, but traveling to all parts. And doing my PhD on Uzbekistan led me to work on transition countries, and because of that, at my university, Bielefeld University, where I did my PhD, there was an opportunity to set up a center for German and European studies at St. Petersburg State University. I was a director of the center from the University of Bielefeld side. Then they asked me to move to St. Petersburg to develop the center there. So I was running the center for another 4 years, being based as a visiting professor at St. Petersburg State University. Then I came back to the region. I was for 3.5 years working at the American University in Bishkek, teaching European science, and I was teaching security issues at the OSCE Academy in Bishkek, so that was a split position. And working on transition countries, I became a specialist on the former Soviet Union, and that is already also why at the end they invited me to the Eurasian National University in Astana. What I enjoy here, that is a kind of a dynamic country, more dynamic. Nevertheless, the people in their heart are conservative. One can also see a lot of Bolshak students return, also because they have to return, but also because they want to return. They want to return to their parents. They want to support their parents. And for example, this idea of supporting the elder generation, this uvaženie, I think it's a kind of great tradition. We don't have it as much in Europe. In Europe, I would say the knowledge of the younger generation is regarded higher than the knowledge of the older generation. Here it's a little bit different. So people really take into consideration what older people say, their opinion. Maybe something is outdated what they say, but nevertheless they can give some advice, and you, the younger generation, is supporting the older generation financially. And I do like this attitude. I think I copied a little bit it myself. I supported my family, my mother, my grandmother too, in renovating our common house in Constance with my resources. I think, why not? If people in Kazakhstan can do it, why I cannot do it having an expat salary?
And what was the reason of your desire to stay longer in Kazakhstan?
At first I was invited to be a visiting professor at the Eurasian National University, Emina Gomilova, for 1.5 years. And this experience that I was working there, getting acquainted with the Kazakh educational system, made the German funding agencies inviting me to this position as a president of a German Kazakh university. At first it's very interesting to be in a country of transition, because they are changing much faster than European societies today. If you compare Kazakhstan 20 years ago and today, it's a big difference. The university is 18 years. I was teaching here already at a summer school twice, last in 2005. So I could see how Almaty was changing. So it's a quite dynamic country. And that is very interesting. You learn quite a lot from this dynamism, from how people adapt. So it's interesting to see what is continuing. So the traditions, the food, the way of celebrating a birthday, the way of, for example, how people live together with their parents, how they treat their parents. And of course, there's a lot of modern impact. If you look to the restaurants in Almaty, 20 years ago, you would have not all this type of Indian, Italian, Korean food, whatever. You can get better sushi here than in Europe. I mean, you have all the cuisines, you have all the kind of entertainment facilities. So you have continuation and you have a lot of things starting from the scratch. And because of that, I'm staying here in Almaty.
The German Kazakh University provides its students with an opportunity not only to acquire knowledge at the European level, but also to put it into practice directly in Germany. Since 2008, the university has been conducting a double degree program. Participants of this program receive a document on education which is valid both in Kazakhstan and Germany, and accordingly in the territory of the whole of Europe. And graduates of this program get a chance to develop their skills, get familiar with Western culture, and return to their home country to share the received knowledge.
What is more difficult within the German Kazakh university is that we have to apply the Kazakh regulations, rules and laws, and also we have to provide an education according German educational standards. So we have to follow the expectations of two countries. And of course we have to train the students that they can continue their studies, the best ones, in the 4th year in Germany to get a German BA degree. For that they have to learn German in the first 2 courses. So we face, let's say, the challenges of 2 countries at this university. What I think should be fostered in Kazakhstan in the university system is that, of course, it is already on this path, the university system, that the universities are not only doing teaching, that they also do research. But for research you need more money, and the research is feeding the teaching. I mean, that is the Humboldt principle, that research goes with teaching and teaching goes with research, because the students can get up-to-date knowledge and we can involve students in research. So that is the best learning process. We have exchange students from Germany, but we also have in the integrated water management program students from all over Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, because also Afghanistan, because that is part of the foreign policy of Germany. There is the Berlin water process, which is a unique activity of the German government within the Central Asia strategy of the European Union, that water resources have to be managed on the regional level. It's now all Central Asian countries are competing and not really coordinating it. That is something which was lost after the Soviet Union, and the approach is to avoid conflict, to have an integrated water management.
Are you planning a further stay in our country, or the new horizons in relation to your professional development are open to you, aren't they?
Well, at first I definitely at the moment will stay 1 more year, because that is the term of the contract, or the term being a president at this university. I could also see myself in a more research-related position, being a vice rector for research, also in any other Kazakh university which would eager to take me in. I like to work with the students. The number of students I had to supervise were not too high, so it was quite a good working relation. Here I had to maybe supervise and consult with 15 students during the semester, which is easier, and you get a more deeper relationship with the students, so I liked that a lot. I could also imagine to stay on in Almaty and go back into teaching. However, I also have now already contacts to Beijing. There are some people who would like to invite me, but I could also picture going back for, let's see, a period of time to Germany. I'm open to whatever comes up, but definitely being in Kazakhstan is an option too.
Since its independence, Kazakhstan has been paying a great attention to the education sphere, striving for implementation of international standards of training. And work of such institutions as German Kazakh University contributes not just to gaining high-quality knowledge, but also to further strengthening friendly relations between 2 countries.